we're going to bring Preston Gralla in, contributing editor for Computer World, and we're just going to touch a little bit on, his first impressions. He's had his hands on it, what it looks like. We do definitely want to talk about the hardware requirements and the security requirements, which can definitely be a little bit confusing. And also importantly, we will go over some of the rollout, and also whether or not you should upgrade, which I know is kind of the $1,000,000 question right now. So Preston, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so glad you could be here. So, like I said, you've had your hands on it. What do you think?
It's pretty good. I was expecting more. Well, I wasn't expecting more because I've been following the development of it. I guess what I was expecting more of is a jump from 10 to 11. You would expect in a jump from 10 to 11 that you would get something really big, especially because it's been 5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And in the past, when Microsoft has done 5 years between operating systems, it's like a completely new operating system, Windows 3.0 to Windows 95, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And I was hoping at whatever point Windows 11 came out, the same thing would happen, but it didn't. But that's not really a bad thing, because remember, when Microsoft does release a big new upgrade, as often as not, you're getting a real stinker. I mean,
you never know. That's exactly right. You might get a good one, but then there's also Vista, or
that's
Windows
right.
8. Yeah,
and that's exactly right. And so, I think Windows 10 is a good, solid operating system. I think Windows 11 improves it, and if it makes it easier for people, one thing to think of is, don't think of it, if you are thinking of big upgrades, don't think of it as 11. Think of it as 10.25 or maybe 10.5. But overall, I'm really quite pleased with it. And I would recommend that when it's time to upgrade, it's going to be a free upgrade if your hardware supports it. I think it's a good thing to do.
Preston, look, I just wanted to ask, there was a lot of confusion when this rolled out this summer about hardware requirements. By the way, hello, good to see you again.
Yes.
And so I'm wondering if, for people who may be considering an upgrade, or companies that may have some laptops that are a couple, 2 or 3 years old and they're ready for an upgrade, are they going to be needing to buy new hardware? Or if, let's say somebody's got an old computer, they want to upgrade.
Yeah, good point.
Will Windows 11 say, this hardware won't work? Or is there going to be, is it going to be a pretty clean bit of information that you can upgrade versus this thing's too old and don't try?
No clean information.
Okay.
Other than that, if you have a PC that's 5 years old or so, it probably won't, or older, you can probably forget it. That's probably, you could pretty much count on that. Not always, but it's a good general rule of thumb. Now, Microsoft has sort of implied that if you have a PC about 3 years old, you should be able to do it. And I think that's generally the case. And I'll go over the hardware specs in a minute, but it's not always the case. In fact, the laptop I'm using right now for Zoom, I bought about a year ago, and it will not run Windows 11.
Wow.
So, yeah, so just be aware that it's not quite as rosy as Microsoft implies.
Do you know why your current laptop will not upgrade? What's holding it back?
Yeah, so there's something called a PC Health Check app that you can run from Microsoft that will tell you whether you can upgrade to Windows 11. If people can't find it, the app, it's free, downloadable. Just go to my review of Windows 11. I include a link in there.
Mm-hmm.
And so what it reported to me was that my processor wasn't compatible, which really surprised me because it's only a year old.
Yeah.
So it really surprised me. What could I say? It's not going to run Windows 11, which isn't a bad thing for me because I upgraded another PC to Windows 11. Now I have 10 and 11, and so can continue to test both of them out. What you'll need, though, is pretty basic hardware at this point, really, a gigahertz or better, 2 cores, 64-bit, but it has to be on Microsoft's list of supported processors. I don't really understand what separates some that meet those specs from others that don't, other than that it also has to have what's called a TPM, Trusted Platform Module 2.0, and it needs that for security. Microsoft has decided that for Windows 11, security is above all the most important thing. Not really a bad idea with the successful increase in attacks everywhere. And so with TPM 2.0, what it does is it offers hardware-based security. So it's hardware-based encryption of your hard disk, hardware-based encryption of passwords, those kinds of things. It's not a bad thing at all, but on the other hand, it is a gating factor. And that's why run the health app first. It's for free. It only takes a couple of minutes, and you'll find out ahead of time whether or not you're eligible to upgrade.
Yeah, we were talking earlier when Michael Simon was on, sort of comparing Windows 11 and Mac OS. And one of the points that I'd made, and I may be echoing something you said earlier, is that, the move from Windows 10 to 11, because it really is an incremental, excuse me, upgrade more than a radical redoing. And I wondered if that was because of the security things that you're talking about, that basically this is Microsoft's sort of subtle way of convincing people that this is all new and therefore worthy of an upgrade. And, the security things that they've built in, in and of themselves should encourage people to upgrade. But, maybe that explains it. From 10 to
I never
11?
thought of that. I never thought about the numbering, because if you do say Windows 10.25, Windows 10.5, people, so what? Big deal.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But right, you say Windows 11, and even if somebody doesn't know anything about it, Windows 11, it's free, upgrade. Wow, that's great. I'll get it. That sounds good to me. And you're slipping in what's really important, which is the security underneath. And it's especially for enterprises. I mean, it's less important. The TPM 2.0 is really less important for individuals. It's really enterprises that are targeted by this stuff, because let's face it, I don't know what your bank account is like, but mine isn't worth hacking into. And so,
Well, they could hack in, they just wouldn't get anything.
yeah, that's right. That's what I mean, though. It's
Yeah.
not worth their time and their effort. So, I really think that the security stuff is primarily for enterprises, and it's
Mhm.
nice. Consumers go along for the ride.
I mean, that's sort of a great place to transition and talk a little bit about what and whether. I guess obviously no IT team is going to roll this out immediately, but I do want to talk a little bit about any specific other features that you can pull out that are enterprise focused, but notably Teams is not.
Well, yeah. Why don't we start with Teams?
Sure.
We're going to talk about IT.
Yeah.
It's odd. Teams is right there on the taskbar. There's an icon.
Mhm.
Click Teams. It pops up a list of all your contacts. Click your contact, and a message gets sent. Preston Gralla wants to talk to you, and you can chat or do video. It's clean. It's simple. It's easy. It's really, really very nice. But it's not for businesses. It doesn't include all the enterprise level things. It doesn't include channels, which is absolutely vital to
Mhm.
Teams. Otherwise, it's not worth using. It doesn't include the ability to search through all your messages. I mean, it doesn't include all the things an enterprise would want. None of them, except chatting, is inside this version of Teams. I'm trying to figure this out, and the only thing I can think of is that we live in a world where increasingly products don't come in through IT. Increasingly, products come in through people who start using them at home for personal purposes. And then they say, I want this at work. And sometimes they'll use it at work.
Mhm.
And then eventually it gets into the enterprise itself through the back door. Tablets, I mean, the list is long and getting longer all the time. So the only thing I can guess is I kind of wonder whether Microsoft is trying to get people hooked on it for personal use. And at that point, that way they'll be able to sneak it in and want to, ask the IT people, why don't we have Teams? Because not a lot of people are really using Slack, which is the Teams competitor, and Teams. There's not a lot of companies that are really using that yet. So I'm guessing that this is Microsoft's way of slipping it into the vast number of businesses that right now aren't using any kind of collaboration tool, who don't even, you ask them what Slack, they'll say, what? You ask them what Teams is, they'll say, never heard of it. But oh, you mean that thing that I use on Windows 11? I like that. I wanted to talk to my best friend the other day. He's in San Francisco, and so that's the only thing I could figure out, because otherwise it logically makes absolutely no sense.
It's a good theory.
Yeah, it's a theory. Who knows if it's true?
No, I think that makes a lot of sense, Preston, because you're absolutely right that a lot of technology gets into the business now from people using it at home. That's how the iPhone suddenly, arrived, and 15 years ago. And it makes sense that Microsoft is clearly pushing Teams and wants it to be part of, your software suite at work where you get stuff done. So if they have a version that you start using at home and then you go to work and ask your IT guy, hey, can I put Teams on my computer here? Can you do it so I can communicate with my coworkers elsewhere in the world or in different time zones? Then, that's a win for Microsoft. And then they get the subscription and it's a double win,
That's right. And I can imagine in the long term, even an upsell directly inside Windows 11. I can imagine at some point that they do have enterprise features just waiting to be unleashed, but you can't get to them unless you start paying for it. I can imagine that happening at some point too.
Yeah.
Aside from that, there's really not much here for IT security. And like I said, Teams isn't really for IT. One of the things for IT, though, we'll be really happy about is that it's only a once a year upgrade rather than the twice a year.
Good point. Yes.
Which to all of us may not be a big deal, but to IT, for them having to do it once a year rather than twice a year is a really, really, really good thing. And I guess maybe because Windows 10 and Windows 11 really are so similar, no new tools for deployment for IT, whatever tools you're using now to deploy, to maintain, all that kind of stuff, to patch, to upgrade, just keep using the same thing.
That actually must be a huge relief. That's a really good point. Because it's going to be a challenge and it's going to be a slightly painstaking process to upgrade people, no matter who you are, no matter how many people you've got that you need to manage. So I guess as we're sort of wrapping up here, I guess I want to know a little bit about the rollout itself. So this is, like you said, Ken, like a sort of a slow, long exit ramp and a long entry.
Long exit ramp for Windows 10,
yeah.
Long entrance ramp. You
had a much that's a much better way of phrasing it. Yeah. So I guess the remaining question is, who is eligible for the upgrade when? If you have the correct hardware and you're a consumer, you don't have IT looking over your shoulder to make sure that you don't upgrade or can't upgrade before you're supposed to. Can I upgrade today as a consumer?
No, you can't. It's very odd and confusing. Because Microsoft says that new eligible devices will be offered the upgrade first. What's a new eligible device? Something I bought 6 months ago? Something I bought yesterday?
Right.
Something I bought 2 months ago? I don't know. And Microsoft's not saying. So they obviously have some plan, but they're not telling us what that plan is. And then the only other thing they'll say is that everybody should be eligible to upgrade by the middle of 2022. And it'll be available via Windows upgrade. That's the way people will be notified. But there's a clear plan in Microsoft's mind, but not in my mind or not in people who follow this mind. I don't even know the numbers. I don't even know, is it 1% by tomorrow, 10% by tomorrow?
Sure.
Next month, what percent? I don't know, except Ken is right on target. Slow uptake and slow outtake for Windows 10, which will probably be around, a lot of times old versions of Windows live on for a really long time. I think Windows will live on longer than any because of the hardware issue. So I think Windows 10 is going to be with us an incredibly long time.
That is certainly what we have gathered. So I feel like we've gotten over this last, let's say 30-ish minute period of really robust understanding of what Windows 11 looks like, what it is, who can use it. So before I let you guys go, is there anything else that you're absolutely dying to talk about Windows 11? It's okay if the answer is no, because I'm sure in the comments people will let us know.
I've got a question for Preston. Preston, do we think there'll be a Windows 12 someday?
Well, one time we talked, Ken, I said I didn't think there was going to be Windows 11, so I don't know. I guess there will be. And the reason I'm guessing there will be is because of something you said, which is the idea that Microsoft wants people to upgrade their hardware to be more secure. So even though this does not really rate as a true point upgrade from 10 to 11. They're calling it that. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's sort of Microsoft's strategy for the future, that when it wants, for whatever reason, when it wants people to get new hardware, whatever those capabilities might be, maybe it's voice input, you know, I don't know, brain implants, I don't know, whenever
I do not want a Microsoft brain implant,
No.
please. No.
Yeah, exactly. But it could be that whenever they want people to do that, they're going to call it a point upgrade and give it just enough, because there are nice new features in Windows 11, give people just enough reason to upgrade to that new one.
Fantastic. Well, Ken, Preston, thank you both so much for calling in and talking about Windows 11. Ken, thanks for hanging in there with us. Really appreciate it. And thank you all so much for watching this episode of Today in Tech. If you liked this video, please do give it a thumbs up, and you can subscribe to our channel. You can also hit the bell icon so you're notified every single time we post a new video. If you have any outstanding comments or questions or just statements about Windows 11 that we didn't cover that you'd like to express, please do leave them in the comments below. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.